Welcome to HFY Universe. The alien princess screamed as the human burned alive in front of her. But he did not let go. Even while the fire melted the skin from his hands, the human kept the collapsing blast door open with his bare body. And behind him, 30,000 aliens survived. Princess Lyra of the Veari Dominion could only stare in horror. No species could survive plasma fire that hot. No species should even try. But the human looked back at her through the flames and smiled. "Run," he whispered. Then the station exploded. Silence swallowed the stars. For 3 days, the galaxy believed Commander Elias Ward was dead. The humans believed it too. And Princess Lyra hated herself for mourning him. The royal mourning chamber of Veari's Prime was colder than space itself. Black crystal pillars surrounded the room. Thousands of floating lights drifted above the silver floor like trapped stars. Alien nobles stood in silence. War generals bowed their heads. Even the emperor remained motionless on his throne. Because one human had done the impossible. Again. Princess Lyra stood near the center platform. Her silver eyes locked on the hologram frozen in front of her. Elias. Burning. Smiling. Saving them. The image looped over and over. Every time she saw it, her chest tightened. A low voice broke the silence. "Strange creatures." General Kale stepped forward, his armor clanking softly. The old Veari warrior's scarred face twisted with unease. "They feel fear," he muttered. "Yet they walk into death willingly." Lyra didn't answer, because she remembered the moment before the explosion. The station alarms. The screaming civilians. The reactor breach. And Elias shoving her toward the escape corridor while the blast door collapsed between them. "You can't hold that," she had shouted. He grinned. "Probably not." Then he did it anyway. Kale folded his arms tightly behind his back. "The Dominion owes the human fleets a debt," he admitted reluctantly. "But their kind are dangerous." That made Lyra finally turn. Dangerous. The humans were barely accepted into galactic society. Their ships looked primitive beside Veari technology. Their worlds were chaotic, emotional, violent. Most species saw humanity as unstable survivors from a death world nobody wanted. But Elias Ward was something else. The chamber doors suddenly burst open. Gasps echoed instantly. A royal messenger stumbled inside, breathing hard. "Your Majesty," he said shakily. "We received a signal from the outer colonies." The Emperor narrowed his glowing eyes. "What signal?" The messenger swallowed. "A human signal." Lyra's heart stopped. "No," Kale whispered. The messenger activated the holodisplay. Static filled the air. Then came a voice. Weak. Distorted. But human. "This is Commander Elias Ward of the Earth vessel Resolute." The chamber froze. Lyra stepped forward so quickly her royal robes swept across the floor. "Impossible." The signal crackled violently. "If anyone receives this, do not approach Veari's Prime." Suddenly Elias coughed hard. Metal groaned in the background. Then came the words that turned the entire room cold. "They followed me." Static exploded across the transmission. And behind Elias, something moved. The transmission ended instantly. Silence. Nobody breathed. Then General Kale spoke first. What in the void was that? But Lyra already knew. Fear crawled into her stomach. Because she recognized the black shapes behind him. The Voidborn. The species nightmares were based on. Creatures older than civilizations themselves. Predators that did not conquer worlds. They erased them. And somehow, one human had survived them. The Emperor rose slowly from his throne. "For 10,000 cycles," he said quietly, "the Voidborn have remained beyond the dark sectors." His gaze hardened. "If they are here now, then the galaxy is already at war." Panic erupted through the chamber. Nobles shouted over each other. Military officers demanded mobilization. Several alien senators immediately called for abandoning the outer systems entirely. Typical. Run first. Hide second. Hope someone else dies for you. But Lyra barely heard them, because all she could think about was Elias alone out there, in the dark. The Emperor looked toward his daughter carefully. You knew the human best. Kale immediately objected. She cannot go after him. Lyra turned sharply. And why not? Because humans are reckless. Kale snapped. That signal was bait. Voidborn do not leave survivors. He survived the station explosion. Exactly my point. The chamber fell silent again. Kale stepped closer, lowering his voice. Princess, humans break the laws of survival itself. It makes them unpredictable. Lyra clenched her fists. He saved our people. Kale's expression darkened. And now he may doom us all. That hit harder than she expected. For a moment doubt appeared. What if Kale was right? What if Elias had brought the Voidborn here? Then she remembered the human's final expression inside the flames. Not fear. Not regret. Only determination. Humans were terrifying because they kept going after fear should have stopped them. That was what aliens never understood. The Emperor finally spoke again. Prepare the royal fleet. Kale looked stunned. You would risk the capital for one human? The Emperor's glowing eyes narrowed. No. His voice became ice. I would risk everything for the species capable of standing against monsters. 3 hours later, the Veari war fleet entered the dark sectors. And every soldier aboard felt the same thing. Fear. Not of the Voidborn. Of what they might discover about humanity. Princess Lyra stood alone on the command deck staring into endless black space. Then the radar officer suddenly gasped. Contact detected. The room snapped to attention. One vessel, the officer whispered. Lyra stepped closer. Identify. The officer's face drained of color. It's the human ship Resolute. Relief hit her instantly. Until the officer continued. But something is attached to it. The main screen activated. And the entire bridge went silent in horror. The human ship drifted through darkness completely shattered. Half melted. Covered in black organic growth. And across its broken hull, written in glowing human blood, were 3 words. Don't let me in. Don't let me in. The words glowed across the ruined human ship like a warning from the dead. Nobody on the Veari command bridge moved. Nobody breathed. Princess Lyra stared at the drifting vessel as cold fear crawled through her body. The human ship Resolute floated silently in the darkness. No engine signals. No life support. No heat. And yet, the blood on the hull was fresh. General Kale's voice came low and sharp. Back the fleet away. Now. The bridge officers hesitated. The Emperor narrowed his eyes at the screen. Scan for life forms. A pulse of blue light swept across the damaged ship. The results appeared instantly. And the bridge erupted into chaos. One life signature detected. Lyra stepped forward. Elias. The officer's hands shook over the controls. It's human. Relief slammed into her chest. But it lasted only a second. Heart rate unstable. Body temperature below survival range. And the officer swallowed hard. Unknown biological matter detected inside him. Silence. Kale cursed under his breath. I knew it. The Emperor's expression darkened. The Voidborn infected him. No, Kale snapped. Something worse. The screen zoomed closer to the ship's bridge window. First there was only darkness. Then movement. A figure slowly stepped into view. The entire bridge froze. Elias Ward stood inside the ruined bridge covered in blood and ash. One side of his face was burned black from the reactor explosion. His left arm hung limp. His breathing looked painful. But his eyes were still human. Lyra felt her chest tighten. He's alive. Elias looked directly toward the fleet cameras as if he could see them. Then he raised a shaking hand. And pointed behind himself. The shadows inside the bridge moved. Something massive unfolded slowly in the darkness. Long limbs, black skin, a mouth filled with moving teeth. Several officers screamed. The creature crawled across the ceiling behind Elias like a living nightmare. But the human didn't turn around, didn't panic, didn't run. Instead he spoke. The audio crackled violently through the speakers. "Don't let this thing reach your worlds." Blood spilled from his mouth. Kale shouted immediately, "Destroy the ship." Lyra spun toward him. "He's still alive. And if that creature escapes, millions die." More shapes suddenly appeared behind Elias. Not one voidborn. 5. The monsters moved unnaturally fast across the walls and ceiling, surrounding him completely. Yet none attacked. They watched him. Like predators waiting for permission. Fear spread through the bridge. Even veteran soldiers backed away from the screen. Because the voidborn never waited. They killed instantly. Ugh. The Emperor's voice turned deadly calm. Why are they not attacking him? Nobody answered. Then Elias finally did. His weak voice barely reached them. Because they're afraid. The bridge fell silent. Afraid. The voidborn erased civilizations. Entire star systems vanished when they appeared. Nothing frightened them. But before anyone could speak, one of the creatures suddenly lunged. "Fast. Too fast." Lyra screamed. But Elias moved faster. The injured human grabbed a broken metal pipe and slammed it straight through the creature's skull with horrifying force. Black blood exploded across the bridge walls. The monster collapsed, twitching. Every alien on the command deck stared in complete disbelief. Elias was barely standing. Burned, bleeding, dying. And he had just killed a voidborn with his bare hands. The remaining creatures retreated instantly into the shadows. Retreated. General Kale whispered the words nobody wanted to say. "They fear him." Another officer shook uncontrollably. "That's impossible." But deep down, they all knew it wasn't. Because humans were Deathworld predators. The galaxy called Earth dangerous for a reason. Humans came from storms, oceans, poison, war, gravity, disease, and extinction. And Elias Ward looked exactly like something forged by all of it. The human leaned heavily against the control panel, breathing hard. Then he looked back toward the fleet. Toward Lyra. "You need to leave," he whispered. Lyra stepped toward the screen desperately. "We're bringing you home." For the first time, Elias looked afraid. Not for himself. For them. "No," he said quietly. The lights inside the Resolute suddenly flickered red. "Warning. Reactor failure. Warning." Kale's eyes widened. "The ship is overloading." The officer checked the readings and went pale. "If the reactor explodes near the fleet, it'll wipe out every ship," Kale finished. Panic spread instantly across the bridge. The Emperor barked orders. "All vessels retreat immediately." But Lyra didn't move. She stared at Elias. He gave her a tired smile. The same smile from the burning station. The same one right before he sacrificed himself. "No," she whispered. Elias reached toward the console. "Tell Earth." He coughed blood again. "Tell them I'm sorry." Then the transmission cut out. Lyra snapped. "Prepare my shuttle." Kale grabbed her arm instantly. "You cannot be serious. He's still alive." "He's already dead." She ripped her arm free violently. "He saved our people. And now you'll throw your life away for one human." Lyra's silver eyes burned with fury. "You still don't understand humans, do you?" Kale frowned. "What?" She looked back at the ruined ship drifting alone in darkness. That human knew he was dying. Her voice trembled slightly. And he stayed behind anyway. The bridge fell silent. Because every alien there realized something terrifying at the exact same moment. Humans did not fight because they believed they would survive. Humans fought because someone else might. Suddenly alarms exploded across the bridge. The radar officer screamed. Multiple contacts emerging from dark space. The stars themselves seemed to tear open. Black shapes began crawling out of the void. Hundreds of them. Void-born ships. And at the center of the swarm, something enormous moved beneath the darkness. Something so large it blocked entire stars from view. Even General Kale stepped backward in horror. What is that? Then a final signal suddenly burst through every speaker on the fleet. Not from the aliens. From Elias. Weak, broken, terrified. Run. It came for humans. The words hit the Veari command bridge like a death sentence. Princess Lyra stared at the battlefield while human warships burned across the stars. Entire fleets were dying. And somehow, the Void-born ignored everyone else. General Kale slowly turned toward the transmission speakers. What do you mean, it came for humans? Static crackled around Elias Ward's weak breathing. Then the injured human answered quietly. Because we heard it before. Silence. Even the Emperor looked stunned. That creature is older than recorded history, he said carefully. No civilization has survived the Void-born. Elias coughed painfully. Humans did. The bridge froze. Lyra's pulse hammered in her ears. Impossible. Humans were considered young, primitive, emotional. But suddenly pieces started fitting together. Human ships were always overarmed. Earth defended its borders with terrifying aggression. Human colonies trained civilians for war. And whenever aliens asked why, humans changed the subject. Kale's voice hardened. What aren't you telling us? Elias hesitated, then finally spoke. 200 years ago, humans found something beneath Europa's ice. Nobody moved. A signal, Elias whispered. Ancient. Alive. On the main screen, human ships rammed directly into Void-born attackers. Still nobody looked away from the transmission. We thought it was technology, Elias continued. We were wrong. Lyra felt cold. What was it? Elias answered softly. A prison. Fear spread across the bridge. The Emperor's glowing eyes narrowed. You released them. No, Elias said immediately. His voice became ice. We killed them. Shock rippled through the command deck. Humans had fought Void-born before. How? Kale demanded. A long silence followed. Then Elias answered with horrifying simplicity. We nuked the moon. Several officers stared at him in disbelief. You destroyed your own colony. Lyra whispered. Part of it. Just to stop them. Elias laughed weakly. There were debates. Kale looked horrified. No sane species would sacrifice millions for containment. That's why your species keeps losing, Elias replied coldly. The bridge went silent. 'Cause deep down, they knew he was right. Humans made impossible decisions. Brutal ones. Terrifying ones. But effective. Outside the bridge windows, the battle worsened. Human cruisers exploded one after another while protecting the retreating alien fleets. And still they kept fighting. Lyra watched one shattered human destroyer drift directly toward the giant Void-born creature. The ship was burning apart. Dead in space. Then suddenly its engines overloaded. Kale's eyes widened. They're going to ram it. The destroyer accelerated straight into the creature's face. White light consumed the battlefield. When the explosion faded, a massive wound burned across the monster's black armor. The bridge erupted in shock. They damaged it. That thing can bleed. The Emperor slowly rose from his throne. No. His eyes narrowed. They hurt it. For the first time since appearing, the giant Void-born screamed. The sound flooded every ship instantly. Not noise. Emotion. Pain. Hatred. Several alien officers collapsed screaming. Blood poured from one navigator's nose. Lyra nearly fell to her knees. The scream carried visions. Dead worlds. Burning oceans. Extinction. And beneath all of it, fear. The creature feared humanity. Not because humans were stronger. Because humans were willing to destroy themselves to kill the enemy too. Elias' voice cut through the chaos. That scream means it's angry. Kale snapped in disbelief. Angry? You don't understand, Elias whispered. Voidborn only attack species they consider threats. Realization slowly spread across the bridge. That's why they came here, the Emperor said quietly. Elias answered. We were supposed to stay trapped on Earth. Cold silence followed. For centuries the galaxy mocked humanity. Primitive, violent, unstable. But humans had never been trapped on Earth by weakness. They had been quarantined. Suddenly alarms exploded again. The creature is charging another attack. The massive Voidborn opened its enormous mouth. Dark energy gathered inside like collapsing stars. This time it aimed directly at Earth's fleet. At the human ships covering everyone's escape. Admiral Sophia Reyes appeared on screen aboard her flagship. Bleeding. Focused. All human vessels, she said steadily. Prepare final formation. Lyra stared at the screen. Then human ships across the battlefield stopped retreating. Instead, they turned toward the creature. Every reactor began overloading. Kale looked horrified. No. The Emperor whispered the truth. They're sacrificing themselves. Thousands of human ships accelerated together. Straight toward the Voidborn. No hesitation. No fear. Only purpose. Human voices flooded comms one last time. For Earth. Hold the line. No one gets left behind. Lyra felt chills run through her body. These humans are insane. Elias answered softly. Yeah. Pride filled his broken voice. But we survive. The giant creature fired. Darkness ripped through the battlefield. Hundreds of human ships vanished instantly. The survivors kept charging anyway. Burning. Breaking apart. Advancing. Then Admiral Reyes gave the final order. Detonate. The stars disappeared. A wall of white fire swallowed space itself. Shockwaves tore through nearby fleets. At the center of the inferno, the giant creature screamed again. Wounded. Burning. Alive. When the light finally faded, half the human fleet was gone. Millions dead. Yet the creature still drifted through the flames. Damaged, but alive. The bridge fell silent in horror. After everything. Survived. Then Elias suddenly spoke again. But this time his voice carried real fear. Oh no! Lyra looked toward the speakers. What is it? A long pause followed. Then the human whispered the words that froze every soul on board. It learned why humans are dangerous. Slowly, the giant creature turned away from Earth. And toward Vayaris Prime. The giant Voidborn turned toward Vayaris Prime. And suddenly the entire galaxy understood the truth. Humanity had taught the monster fear. Now it wanted revenge. Princess Lyra stared in horror as the massive creature moved through space like a living nightmare. Entire stars vanished behind its body. Billions of civilians waited below on Vayaris Prime. Unprotected. General Kale looked pale. It's ignoring Earth. The Emperor's voice became heavy. It knows humans will fight back. That was the terrifying part. The Voidborn had learned. Earth was dangerous. Humanity would burn worlds before surrendering. So the creature chose easier prey. Lyra's world. Alarms screamed across the fleet. Human ships instantly turned around to intercept despite half their fleet already burning in space. Admiral Sophia Reyes appeared on screen again. Blood ran down her forehead. All ships pursue target, she ordered calmly. Even now, humans still charged toward death. Kale stared at the screen in disbelief. What kind of species keeps fighting after this? Nobody answered. Because they already knew. Humans didn't stop. Ever. Suddenly a weak signal returned. Elias. The bridge went silent instantly. The human commander looked terrible now. Burned skin. Blood across his face. One eye barely open. But he was alive. How long until impact? He asked weakly. 36 minutes, an officer answered. Elias nodded slowly. There's one way to kill it. Hope flashed across Lyra's face. How? The human hesitated. That hesitation terrified her. Finally he spoke. The creature has a central core. A singularity engine. The Emperor's eyes widened. A black hole reactor. Elias nodded. That's why normal weapons fail. Cale clenched his fists. Then how do we destroy it? Silence. Then Elias answered quietly. With a human reactor overload. The bridge froze. Lyra felt cold fear rise inside her. No. Elias avoided her eyes. If I overload my ship inside the core, the singularity collapses. The Emperor finished the sentence softly. And the creature dies. Everyone understood immediately. It was suicide. Lyra stepped toward the screen desperately. There has to be another way. Elias finally looked at her. His tired expression softened. You still don't understand humans. Her voice trembled. Then explain it to me. Outside the windows, the giant Voidborn moved closer to her homeworld. Closer to billions of innocent lives. Elias looked back at the stars. Then quietly said, humans aren't special because we survive. His damaged ship slowly turned toward the creature. We're special because someone always chooses to stay behind. Silence filled the bridge. No alien species thought like that. No species accepted death willingly. But humans did. Not because they loved dying. Because they hated losing people more. Admiral Reyes suddenly appeared again. Her eyes widened in horror. Elias, no. The human gave a weak grin. Sorry, Admiral. You won't survive this. Probably not. Several human officers behind her lowered their heads. One saluted. Another wiped tears away silently. Nobody tried stopping him. They understood him too well. Lyra felt tears forming in her silver eyes. You promised humans survive, she whispered. For the first time. Elias smiled warmly. We do. Then the transmission ended. His broken ship accelerated toward the giant Voidborn alone. Every surviving human vessel followed behind him. Not retreating. Escorting him. Protecting him. The Emperor slowly placed his fist against his chest. A warrior salute. For the human, he said quietly. One by one the entire bridge copied him. Even Cale. Outside, Elias' burning ship disappeared into the creature's massive mouth. And nothing. 10 seconds passed. 20. Lyra stopped breathing. Suddenly white light exploded from inside the Voidborn. Cracks spread across its enormous body. The creature screamed across the stars. Then the singularity collapsed. The explosion looked like a new sun being born. The giant Voidborn tore apart from within. And instantly, every remaining Voidborn ship stopped moving. Silence filled space. The war was over. Human voices slowly returned across comms. Crying. Laughing. Alive. Princess Lyra stared at the fading light where Elias vanished. But billions survived because of him. General Cale spoke softly beside her. I finally understand humans. Lyra wiped tears from her face. Cale looked toward the burning remains of the enemy fleet. They are terrifying. A faint smile touched Lyra's lips. Yes. She looked toward the stars one final time. But that's why the galaxy survived.